Hello, everybody. Welcome to Stat Check episode 116, Homeowners Association, something that most millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha will not be a part of. I'm Nathan, and I'm joined by Anthony, and I've started our capitalist dystopia talk early today.
Yeah, it's okay. We weren't just looking at buying a house and then gave up when the election happened. It's fine.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. The world can be on fire, but it's okay because that new Phoenix Lord has arrived and made
He's
me feel
cool.
better about myself.
Yeah.
All of the new sculpts, but it will just be me and Anthony today. Innes had his wisdom teeth removed, and with it, probably his source of power. And then Jeremy is taking a well-deserved break after traveling to the United States to be at the World Championships of Warhammer, and then going home to Canada, probably to reflect on the hellscape that is the United States.
Specifically Atlanta.
Specifically Atlanta, which was compared to Afghanistan, I think, last week.
I think that was 2 weeks ago, but I did laugh very hard when it happened.
Yeah, so it'll just be me and Anthony, and we're just going to talk some shit because we're not going to talk about the participation experience of being in events, but we're going to talk about them anyways because we do have opinions.
I have so many opinions.
And then we'll talk about the Eldar preview because I feel like it, because it made me feel motivated to hobby in 40k for like the first time in months, which was an experience to have on a stream for that.
Woo!
Yeah, and we'll do stats, I suppose, since we do have them, and I'll show off the new dark mode for our metadata dashboard, which everybody loves, a good dark mode. That's about it.
Sweet.
So, Anthony, how was your weekend?
My weekend was fine. I watched some of the event. I kind of hung out. I've been having like weird random headaches that just like take me out for hours at a time, so that's been cool. But that's been
like...
that's not ideal, but I think that's just like I'm doing too many things thing. So I gotta just like reduce the amount of like doing 700 things at once in a day, and I think that'll get improved. And at some point in 2026 I should be able to do that, so that's we'll be okay. But yeah, I don't know, the weekend was fine. I got a little Warhammer stuff in. I'm like 99% sure I'm playing CSM Meta GT in 2 weeks. I have a little RTT Friday that I'm gonna putz about with them with and see if I like feel good about them or if they make me upset. I'm playing with obliterators in the army, so it's always a 50-50 on if I'm gonna be really angry or totally fine with it, because those boys do move 4. So sometimes
they actually move 4 inches. Impressive.
This many inches. Not this many. This would be too many. This would be too fast.
Some Death Shroud energy we're channeling today.
Not fast. They at least have guns and indirect.
Fair.
And the indirect thing is pretty good with Vets of the Long War. Anyway, so yeah. So I'm going to try that for a bit. And if I don't want to throw myself out a window, I'll play Vets. And if I do want to throw myself out a window, I won't. And I will instead play Renegade Raiders and just run very fast in lots of places and wear a pirate hat to the GT or something.
I like it.
That's the game plan. So how about you? How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. I got to watch a trailer that made me feel like super special inside for Eldar release models, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
I won't lie. That was that was like the bright spot for the WCW for me. I didn't watch a lot of game coverage.
That's for the best. The GW stream was pretty bad. The Spanish stream, however, fucking sick. That was so dope. I don't even speak Spanish well, but that stream was dope. They did such a good job and deserve much praise for how well they did.
Yeah, I heard the French and Spanish stream teams came in and did some pretty good stuff compared to the English stream, which kept flipping between Age of Sigmar and 40k. It sounds like they really just need dedicated streams for their games to be done with it.
That would help a lot. I think the big thing is that the French stream was, I'm sure, great because they do a great job. but they don't have player mics, and I speak like for actual zero French. It's all like omelette du fromage to me. So like I'm useless on that stream. But the Spanish one used a lot of player mics, and the event was played in English. So even while watching the Spanish stream, occasionally the commentators would like sing and dance, which was a fun treat as well. But for the most part, it was like, player mics from the game, so you could just understand what was happening. So that was cool. But yeah, dedicated streams would probably go a long way towards making the viewership of that event a lot better, instead of getting to like the end of the World Eater charge phase and being like, anyway, Gloomspite gets, and being like, no, what do you mean? Why now?
Did they have dedicated commentary for even
Yes,
those games, or was
yes.
it just Adam? Okay,
It
that's
would
an
have been-
improvement.
Dude, it would have been so much funnier to watch Adam be like, those appear to be goblins, and those guys appear to be giants. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would have actually watched the stream just for the occasional random tangents of Adam being bopped over to Age of Sigmar to talk about it.
Yep.
Those are some big giants. I think that big one is King Broad over there.
Right. Yeah, that would have been the best. It's like, dude, look at how many goblins there are. If he was just like, like someone walking into a Games Workshop for the first time commentary, if he was just like, dude, there's goblins riding spiders, that would have been hilarious.
And
did you know there's dragons in this game?
That sometimes folks are riding them. It's wild.
Oh man, that would have been so funny.
Next year.
I think next year what they should do is they should take someone who's never heard of Age of Sigmar and give them like a small microdose of mushrooms and be like, all right, you're the commentator now. Godspeed, soldier.
That's the field reporting they should do. They should add a field reporting moment where the person just walks up and they're like, I think I saw the actual rest of my mushrooms on a table.
Right. That's genius. Games Workshop. Take heed of these ideas.
Free advice. Otherwise, like I played a game of 40K for the first time in a while, which was nice. I know I got so motivated by that Eldar stream that I like unpacked stuff to assemble and like got my paints and checked them out.
Damn,
and,
son.
Like, got all ready. I know. I was like, oh damn! All I needed in my life was new elves.
Did you play a like tournament pack mission or?
I did.
Wow.
I know.
It wasn't even Crusade. Wow.
My locals were very confused when I was like, I guess I'm playing 40K again. And they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yes, Vic. It'll be just me on Eldar playing them badly.
I mean, any of you that are present in the Stat Check Patreon Discord know that when it happened, I had like a 7-line block of I don't play Eldar and I will not start, just like on it over and over again. It's the only one.
It was amazing to watch Anthony become an Eldar player just over the course of a stream. They even had Emperor's Children in the preview for you.
They did. He had a big smoking hole in his chest from Papa F. And I hope look, for the Eldar players, I hope that army is just like really good in a way that is not at all interesting to me. If it's like Phoenix Lords leading aspect squads and that's like the good list, we're going to have a problem. And by a problem, I mean that I'm going to have to really close my eyes very tight and hope that someone on Team USA is a better Eldar one trick than I feel like I could be. And we're just going to hope that works out.
There is that line just from the preview article itself. I didn't watch the stream with audio because I don't usually like listening to as much marketing speak as they tend to do in those streams.
Yeah.
Which is fine. They're for marketing purposes, but I don't want to listen to them. Sure. There is the aspect host in which the new aspect warriors deploy in the terrifying shadow of the avatar of Cain.
That's probably fine. He'll probably
There's also the Harlequins detachment.
See, that could... See, the problem with Harlequins is like they're like the gateway drug to Eldar, you know? They're the coke that gets you to the metaphorical fentanyl that causes the whole problem. Harlequins are so cool, and Eldar are not. However, most of what was holding me back from playing Eldar was the fact that all of their models came from before I was born and looked like kind of shit. And I know a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia built up in those models. You're going to get very angry that I said they look bad, but a lot of those aspect warriors are gross. So, now that they have new models, you know.
I won't lie. So I have a spreadsheet made by somebody else that is just a list of how old models are.
Yeah.
And the oldest models in the game were Warp Spiders, Swooping Hawks, and those Phoenix Lords from like 1993 or 1994. They're 30 years old. They're older than Innis.
Yeah.
They're older than most of the people who are currently at the top of Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, look, it's okay, Vic. It's fine. Those models are just objectively ugly looking. It's why Brian bought 24 autarchs to make all of his aspect warriors out of. Does that say different things about Brian's spending habits? Perhaps, but it's also what happened, and his aspect warriors look beautiful.
I mean, if you look too closely at my Warp Spiders, you will definitely notice that they are third party and not mainline Warp Spiders, because the mainline Warp Spiders looked doofy and I didn't like them. So I had third party. Yeah. And the Swooping Hawks also looked doofy. Like, they also all looked tiny compared to modern sculpt units. Like, Caranthus was like the size of a firstborn Marine, which was terrible by itself.
Yeah.
Also, though, very funny that they forgot one Phoenix Lord and it was Caranthus.
I think it's funny that they forgot the sneaky guy. That's the best.
He's so sneaky.
He was in the bushes, bro.
Resculpt day.
Yeah, he was infiltrating. He was out there in the field. Wasn't in the deployment zone, so he didn't get picked up.
He's gonna stand next to his own Exarchs and be like a quarter-inch tall, shorter than them because of it or something.
I mean, it would be maximal funny if he gets like actually legends. Like, they just missed him wholesale. They're like, no rules, no sculpt, goodbye.
Oops. Oh, no, it's because Drazar, finally, the original Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions, came and killed him.
It took him down.
And permanently eliminated Caranthus. Yep.
Look, Vic, that's the real pathway to me playing Eldar. If Shining Spears are good, then we're talking about something, you know? Then it could happen. Because, like, this is a thing that newer people to the show would not know, but I have a horrid love of all the elf jet bike shit. If there was a detachment that let me run, like, Sky Reavers, and fucking Shining Spears, oh my... I think those things are cool as fuck, but they've been bad for a really long time, so no one has any reason to know that about me anymore.
Their sculpts are actually nice for the modern Shining Spears. Like, they're actually nice models. They look kind of cool.
Yeah.
But they are just bad. Like, their rules are bad, and that's okay.
Yeah, maybe they'll be good now. Maybe the new rules will be good in this new aspect whatever thing you just said. So,
true. The aspect host. They named it really easy for us.
That's
they didn't name them weird, complicated nonsense. There's a Windrider host, though.
That's probably going to be super lame. It's probably going to be built around like
It is going to be built around like Guardians.
The loser nerd bikes, whatever they're called.
Skyrunners?
No. The idiot bikes. The I'm a Marine defensively and I have a shuriken cannon. Look at how cool I am bikes.
Oh yeah, those are the Guardian bikes. Yeah,
I don't know those things suck.
A special name. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The
the best thing those guys have going for them is that they're on a small base.
True. I guess, yeah, the Windrider detachment could be Skyweavers, Shrouds, Shining Spears, and Windriders. So it could be a little bit of everything, but it won't be. It'll just be the generic Guardians on bikes with Shuriken cannons and Skyrunners.
Right.
Which will be a little sad. Maybe the Viper sculpt will come back. People will take Vipers again. I don't know, man.
I hope not. Yeah, look. One can hope. Aspects list, really good. Or aspects list, really bad, so I don't have to think about it. That would be ideal. Just no temptation. Just it's gone from the zeitgeist.
It won't be. I'm just hoping the Harlequins detachment is like half good, but I'm assuming that detachment is in the penalty box for an edition.
I'm gonna fucking try, Nathan. I'm gonna give it a shot. If it's good, you'll know, because I'll know.
I mean, I will also make more lists that are just the like the I'm Just Pete skit from SNL.
Yeah, that's that are
just it's just duplicates of Anthony's list, and his are like my name's Ken, and mine is all my name's Pete.
Yeah, dude, I would play a full. That would actually be really funny if you got like a list done of Harlequins that were like just done up like Pete from that skit. No, Vic, no one's excited for Guard. What the fuck? If you get I have terrible things to say about people that get excited about Guard. Nothing good. Yuck.
I'm going to be honest. I think the Deathcore of Krieg sculpts are cool, but I also am like,
They're really cool,
And
but like,
I'm not a
come on.
Death Corps of Krieg guy.
Look,
I
I,
like the
I,
other things.
nothing about Guard is exciting. The people that play Guard are the same people that go into a fantasy setting and are like, dude, human fighter, longsword, armor, ship it. I could be anything. I'm gonna be me, but slightly taller. Let's go, baby.
Oh man, I really want them to remake like one of the cooler regiments, like Vostroyans or something like that. Like
Sure.
bring out the Russian like Winter Soldier guys,
Or don't.
something, whatever.
Maybe
I don't
nothing.
know.
Maybe nothing needs to be Russian in the setting. Maybe we get
That's
enough of that
fair.
in the day to day.
That's also possible. It's
You know?
unfortunate that maybe we get the Catechins then. We just have
Yeah.
a whole movie foot soldier version of this instead.
Right. Perhaps, yeah. The guys that are, just as strong as the buff super soldiers because they work out a bunch. It's what every Instagram guy that does the thing wants you to believe he is.
True. It is always funny to watch that just Sly Marbo shows up having worked out and is as strong
Strength
as a
4.
genetically engineered super soldier.
Yeah.
The D6 system with its 10 base stats.
It's doing its
Excellent.
best.
Doing amazing.
Doing its best. We got stratified toughness. No one touched the strength characteristic. It's okay. That's technology for 11th edition.
True. All right. Yeah, we'll go into 11th edition. We're going to revert back to like 5th edition or something like that, where it's all like tables.
Yeah, Vic's got a good point here. Imagine how fast Space Marines if someone just told them to move faster.
Man.
Idiots! Why has no one thought of this?
Can you imagine your obliterators if somebody just stood behind them going, why don't you pick up the pace?
Dude, they'd be 50% faster. Wait, it's even more than that, isn't it? They'd be 75% faster? Because move is 3 inches, right? It's not 2.
Yeah, so they'd be almost twice as fast.
Holy
almost
shit.
twice as fast.
Damn, son.
They would be moving at the normal speed at which you'd expect them to move.
Dude, they would move at elf witch speed. Fucking someone get on this.
Somebody find a way to give Chaos Space Marines orders.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Anyway, yeah, I'm not looking forward to the Guard book. I'm going to be honest. Too many cheap units that get too powerful orders is not exactly the best, best space for the game to be in.
I have a terrible thing to say for Guard players based off my expectations from seeing like a box being previewed first.
Uh-oh.
You're not playing Guard at tournaments until like March is my guess.
Oh, man.
It's going to be like Tau and Blood Angels, the last 2 people to get army codexes in boxes, basically, where you have to wait a month or 2 for a year to play your faction.
Dude, that'd be sick. I would love that.
Like, those sculpts are rad, though. And the number of people who thought that Death Corps of Krieg people rode horses was very funny. I got messages a lot. What is going on with their horse feet? They're not horses, guys.
No.
Why? No.
Some of them rode horses at one point, I think.
I don't think they were ever horses.
No, they had the Death Riders or whatever. They had the Feel No Pain horses from Forge World.
I think.
Oh, maybe.
They still had mutant feet.
Yeah, that's possible.
I don't know. We'll go look at those feet later. Not on air.
That's whatever you do after the show is on you, Nathan. That's some FromSoft shit, dude. That's some big Elden Ring energy coming off you, my man.
Look, until they 3D animate the horses to kick at me, I'm gonna look at their
whatever you want to do, bro. God damn, son.
Now that we've gone so far off the rails, and I'm now going to go
welcome.
into the other. This is
They refer to like me and Innes as being like the kiddie show. Apparently, me and Nathan is the socialism and foot fetish episode.
Oh no! All right, we are gonna switch to stats, and we're gonna cover 2 weeks of stats because I don't care. You're all gonna listen to me talk about it anyway. So, all right. I don't think anybody is going to be terribly surprised by what I'm about to say, but the number 1 faction in the game is, in fact, Genestealer Cult.
Whoa.
They had 51 players across the last 2 weeks, which was 2.8% of the meta.
That's a very small number, probably contributing to their very high win rate.
It's possible. There are a few factions less than them. We'll talk about them in a second, though. 59.7% win rate for Genestealer Cults.
God,
they have won 4 events over the last 2 weeks. They have 10 top 4s, and 17 top 10s for an overrep of 2.62 over the last couple of weeks.
Just for the sake of causing me intense agony, what's their 4-0 event start rate?
Oh man, I'm gonna pull up this other page that I had open so that I can do that real quick.
Yeah.
4-0 is 18%.
Oh, that's so many. That's such a big number. Yo, that's so many people.
18% is a lot, guys. 18% is a lot. We do not have a number with Innis removed, but I think that's 2 GT wins.
That doesn't even matter. That's 2 instances of Innis.
Matter. It's true. This is like the one scenario I will say where, like, if you removed a player or two from the data set, it might affect it a little bit, but not a lot. There are still 263 games played. You're removing like 12 games from it. It's not that many. It might shift it a little bit, but not a ton.
Yeah, that's wild.
In second place, our other problem faction is Astra Militarum. They, on the other hand, make up 8.3% of the meta.
Slightly more problematic.
55.8% win rate. 5 event wins over the last couple of weeks. 18 top 4s, 41 top 10s. That's a big number, folks. 41 is a lot. 1.6 for overrep, so just a little bit higher than normal.
That's actually not that crazy.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's not crazy high numbers, but anything over 1.25 to 1.5 is where you start to like raise your eyebrows a bit. Once you get to 2, things are a problem.
Yeah, fair.
In third, funnily enough, is the first of 3 Chaos factions. In third place, we have Death Guard. 4% of the meta, a 54% win rate, 3 event wins, 9 top 4s, 19 top 10s, and a 1.67 for overrep. Death Guard apparently doing things. Well, nobody is looking. Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way Death Guard does things is when you're not looking. It takes them a long time to,
Yeah. When you all move the same space, pace as Anthony's obliterators.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Your whole army. Yeah. I think that actually causes Anthony physical pain, just like the mere idea of only having units that move like 5 inches or less.
No, I don't play Death Guard for a reason.
In fourth place is Chaos Demons, 3.9% of the meta, a 52.8% win rate. No event wins, 2 top 4s, 11 top 10s for a 0.38. This is sorted by win rate.
0.38 overrep and no event wins is some demons coded shit. That's the shit I expect from the kings of 3 and 2.
It's true. And then in fifth place is World Eaters. 3.6% of the meta, a 52.1% win rate, 3 event wins, 7 top 4s, 14 top 10s, and a 1.44 for overrep. World Eaters coming out pretty good.
Swangin'.
The other event winners from around now are Thousand Suns, who picked up 2 event wins, Chaos Knights, who picked up 1, Tyranids, who picked up 1, Space Wolves, who picked up 1, Tau, who picked up 1, Necrons, who picked up 1, Custodes, who picked up 2, Eldari, who apparently picked up 3 event wins.
Just keeping that crown, baby. Keeping that fucking this is my edition, bitch.
I think that's all 3 of their event wins since the Balance Data Slate.
I mean, how many do they have on the edition, Nathan?
I don't know, man. It's a lot. You want me to check? I'll check later, and we'll be very depressed together.
Yeah.
Grey Knights won an event, Drukhari won an event, and then Chaos Space Marines won 2, and Space Marines won 1, and then Dark Angels have won 2. Sisters are kind of in the middle to answer Vic. 3.4% of the meta, a 50.1% win rate, 0 event wins, 7 top 4s, 14 top 10s for a 1.5 overrep. Just kind of not close.
Just don't touch them. Just leave them where they are. Just don't.
They seem to be fine.
Just leave them alone. Put up the points on Exorcist so people stop playing that build because it's bad for the game. Just leave them alone. Don't touch anything else. Don't make them cheaper. Don't make them more expensive. Don't make their rules worse. Don't make their rules better. Just leave them alone. Right where they are.
And then the bottom 5 for factions is Imperial Agents, who had less than 10 players across 2 weeks, so we really shouldn't talk about them at all. They had a 39% win rate and had no placements. Black Templars, 1.9% of the meta, a 45.7% win rate, 1 top 4, 3 top 10s. for 0.38. Dark Angels, third from the bottom, 4.3% of the meta, a 45.9% win rate. 2 event wins, like I said before, 4 top 4s, 8 top 10s, and a 0.68 for overrip. Orcs with 4.2% of the meta, 2 top 4s, 9 top 10s, and a 0.35 for overrip. 46.4% win rate for them. And then Space Marines, 4.9% of the meta, 46.7% win rate, 1 event win, 4 top 4s, 14 top 10s, and a 0.61 for overrip. Nothing like wild and crazy. As you can tell from me talking about it, we only have 2 factions that are outside the balance window that we usually talk about. 3 if you include the 0.8% win rate. Yeah. The one that we've determined is correct, I guess. I don't know.
No. It's the one we've been given by Games Workshop. 45 to 55, baby. Nice big gap.
You have 2 that are over it. Guard are over it by 0.8. Gene Stealer Crawls are at 59.7. And then the only one outside it on the bottom is Imperial Agents, who, as many of us have said, are not real and cannot hurt you because of it.
Yep.
That's kind of it for stats. I did want to show something fun just because I love sharing my screen and confusing everybody by doing it. So we'll see if this works real quick. We're going to see if we can do this without
shit exploding.
Without my computer blowing up. Here we go. Yeah, look at that. I'll make it bigger for you guys. All right, there we go. So this is the metadata dashboard with its updated dark mode, which everybody seems to love. And at the bottom, you can see win rate, overrep, 4-0 start, number of event wins, and then player population as a percentage. You can see Gene Stealer Cults appear with about a 60% across the current data slate that we're on, with 7 event wins and a 3% player population. Astra Militarum right below them with 11 event wins and a 54% win rate. And then at the bottom, it's really just Imperial Agents with kind of nothing to speak of. Anthony pointed out one of the things that is probably a problem is this, where Gene Stealer Cults have an 18% 4-0 event start. Arguably, also a problem is Astra Militarum's 10% 4-0 event start. But, you know,
that represents a much larger number for Guard than that does for GSC.
True. So there are problems in different kinds of ways. This is like 6 times what you'd kind of expect for 4-0 event starts, kind of in theory, but
yeah,
all stated equal, while Astra Militarum's is only like 1.5.
Sure.
But it is still a problem that these factions have kind of sucked up all of the event wins, although we do have a good spread of event wins outside of Adeptus Mechanicus, who are the only faction who haven't won an event outside of Imperial Agents.
I mean, I don't know that I'm happy to call that a good spread of event wins. I feel like that's really top-heavy for a set of event wins. It just so happens that most people have at least one.
True. Everybody except Adeptus Mechanicus has at least one.
No.
Outside of this, I don't know if you can see the cursor. It's probably okay.
Yeah.
But this is a problem.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like you can't be like, outside the problems, things are good, you know? If we ignore all the fire, you know, things are pretty cool.
And then on the right, you can see detachment win rates with Host of Ascension at like a 69% win rate, I believe.
That's pretty high.
With 167 games under it. So that's actually that's quite a large proportion, actually, of Gene Stealer Cults players. That's like a quarter of their total plays right now, games right now. That's a problem.
So, early conclusions from this that I'm going to give as a not stats man looking at stats stuff. Just as a high-level player looking at things. So, I would say that a lot of what we're seeing from GSC is actually really driven by the fact that they have a smaller player population. And they do not have the more casual fan base out there catching bullets in the name of the balance gods for them. We saw a similar thing happen with... I mean, we've seen this happen a whole bunch of times. If you go all the way back through the stats, right? Harleys as light are not the most broken thing of all time just because of, you know, their rules. They're the most broken thing of all time in the stats because there was a small portion of the player base playing them that was compromised of almost entirely the murderer players, and even the more casual Harlequin players were elevated by the simplicity of that, like, you know, the power of that rule set. But also, if you were at the true top, you knew you weren't going to beat them unless you were them. So a lot of people migrated to them. You can see the inverse of this happening with something like Space Marines right now, where their stats are not particularly good, but they somehow have rather high event win characteristics, which tends to tell you that in general, if people think that Marines are very good, they will have a large player base, which will reduce their win rate, but keep their event win number steady. And that is just right now. We were told from Games Workshop's article that Space Marines are going to get some changes, which to my mind means buffs. I would have to assume they're not going to nerf them, which does not bode well for the state of things.
Yeah. I mean, well, you always see high level players kind of move to whatever is best. That's like the nature of top level players. Typically skip meta for meta. Gene Stealer Colts, we haven't, I think, seen as much of it as of yet.
Definitely seen some, though. There's been a fair amount of people that are like, oh, this is good. I'm going to just play this.
But we haven't seen a bunch of people going to Astra Militarum because Guard have been good more recently. And so I think more people are more prepared to jump over to it. And then you still have people sticking around with Space Marines because everybody has a Space Marine army at some point or another in their hobby existence.
Yeah.
Whether that's Blood Angels or Dark Angels or just generic Ultramarines or something like that. And you can kind of see this in their stats. There are parts of Space Marines that are above kind of like where they are ad hoc total. Although First Company Task Force being...
That was just because Ruben went and won a GT with them this weekend. I bet that player pop is exactly one man.
It's 6 people, but yes, that is the situation. This is the situation where you drill down enough in the stats that like a single top level player being like, I'm going to win a GT with First Company Task Force will muck everything up completely. Yeah. Whereas you see something like Vanguard, which is what most people are playing, which has 2 of their event wins and then has reasonable win rate as well.
Yep. 50%. I agree with what Vic said in chat, that Ultramarines are genuinely one of the best armies in the game. They might be the best Marine chapter right now, even better than Dark Angels, particularly when you look at like the meta threats available. Vanguard through the Stripe has had a really good guard matchup for a while. And I don't think that's gotten worse with the removal of Manticores that are able to interact with your poor Centurions. So, yeah, I would imagine that has continued. And they have, with the changes to Uriel Ventress and like the general like way points have shaken out for Marines, especially Rebute as well. They have the best special characters in the Marine set, so you're gonna see them even if they don't have the best special units, because Marine units are just pretty good on rate now. So yeah.
Would you say they have better characters than Blood Angels then, as far as like supplement versus main book goes?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Ultras are a better army than Blood Angels. I think they are a slightly less interesting army, but playing Gladius, like even playing like the Gladius Ultras build is super fun. Playing the Vanguard Ultras build, if you're like into that style of play, is super enjoyable. Blood Angels are a lot more like one note, and you're kind of forced into being combined arms with them anyway, at which point you're just playing Ultras with less tools. You have better, again, like units, but it's not as powerful. And I think that that's like a not ideal space for Marines to be in. If you're going to have all these snowflake chapters, they should be good at the thing they're snowflaking into. But they can only be so good. Hence the eternal design problem with Marines, and that's why the snowflake chapter shouldn't get codex access. But, you know, that's a very controversial topic.
I mean, I agree with you. So we can be controversial agreement together. What would you do, though, Anthony, right now, if you were to play Ultramarines or something like that? What kind of would be the basis, or where would you look to try to get some information for like what you would want to play as Ultramarines right now?
I mean, check out the Art of War streams. John plays Ultramarines on there literally all the time, and his lists are always good. I mean, you might want to like, you know, John builds lists with lots of tools, but you might be able to ratchet that back a step and, you know, put in just more like simple to use stuff like tanks. But, like, you know, we just saw the Ultramarines Ironstorm list do extremely well at WCW. That's a generic-ass build that you could pick up, plug, and roll, at least until you get more reps with it, and at which point you'll have more reps with it and be more familiar with it. And, you know, Ironstorm, especially as Ultras, like, Ironstorm as any of the, like, give you CP chapters is a great way to, like, learn and improve, right? It's really good at like the base level. It'll get you to a fairly positive win record just by virtue of like I have a lot of tanks, and mid-table lists and players tend to struggle with that. And then as you get better and better and better, the list gets better and better. As we can see, its ceiling is quite high from WCW. So that is the two spaces you can look in, either like a Gladius style list or an Iron Storm, or there's lots of viable options for Ultramarines because they are flexible.
Fair enough. And then there's one more thing that I wanted to share while we're just sitting here, is where we can start to look at where we have been and where we are right now, comparatively speaking. I love this spread right here, just when we first started 10th edition and everything was chaotic completely.
Except for Death Guard, they've been consistently shit for a long time.
or the metadata bash will crash for just a second. But yeah. We're over here now. You can see this, what I think is really funny, at least, for Gene Sealer Cult, whose color on this background is not great, but you can watch them dip, go
and
up,
rise,
and then dip all the way here, and then just basically go linearly up.
Yep.
Roughly around when like Innis started to kind of like play them more.
Popularize a lot of the work that Eric was doing a little bit more quietly.
That's true as well. Yeah, that's kind of where we've been at and where we're kind of going right now. We seem to have kind of settled into that balanced data window that GW has given us. We'll see if like what happens when they start releasing 30 new detachments or whatever it is they've decided that they're going to do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll see how that goes. Leave my boy alone. Terrible. It's on the cover of the Codex. Fuck, that's rough, man.
It is just the generic.
God, that's brutal.
I'm so glad that actually happened unintentionally instead of intentionally, because it's so much better that way.
I really genuinely hope all like the armor of contempt of Emperor's Children is the fucking fuck you Slanesh strat, or the fuck you elves strat of that they had last edition, where it's like, is that Eldari keyword? Reroll hits and wounds. Fuck them.
Reduce AP by 1. If it's an Eldari, reduce that AP by 2.
By 4. Fuck them.
You don't get any AP as an Eldari
none.
army shooting at Emperor's Chosen Children. Sorry.
Emperor's Children. Yeah.
Yeah, Chosen Children. It's all the same, right? I don't think so, but all right. So that's kind of where we're at for stats. We'll see what 30 new detachments does, because that definitely won't introduce new variables across every single thing getting a new detachment.
They are adding a whole bunch of detachments at the same time they're doing a data slate, which is like, honest to God, I'm not going to complain about it, because I'm happy that they would do this now and not in June. If they did this in June, I would be so fucking pissed.
Oh, right. Yeah, right before WGC. That's right.
No, do not.
This is my favorite, though. Anti-Eldar 2-up on some of their models, definitely.
Yeah, they should just all have it. All of them should have that, just like on the data sheet. To be fair, you're anti-Eldar 2-up by being strength 6. Like, it's not...
Yes. It's not a huge accomplishment that you've gotten to strength 6.
Yeah. I guess that doesn't make it do dev wounds, but, like,
It is going to be funny, though, that it's maximum chaos, like, ahead of LVO, essentially, because LVO is in late January, so they're getting, like, maximum change, basically, ahead of LVO.
I mean, that makes sense. It's a fake garbage event no one cares about anymore, so...
Oh, damn. I mean, you're not wrong. They hand
if you don't want to have a poor perception in the community, maybe don't cut the guy that's your entirety of your goodwill, Frontline Gaming. Just saying. Maybe figure it out and be better. You won't get flamed.
Oh, damn. So yeah, rate
What's up, Nathan? All right, bro? Unchanged.
Unchanged is also true, though, Anthony.
Yeah.
Unchanged is also true.
Yeah, fuck.
I don't think we've done a stream just the two of us in such a long
No,
time.
yeah, in a while, yeah.
This is the same exact energy, and this is probably why they don't let us do it.
Dude, that's why we usually end up with adults with us. Well, you do a terrible job of corralling my haterade, so that's half the problem.
To be fair, I don't think
it doesn't always need to be.
There's a difference between, like, this is always a good discussion when you're talking about things and you're being critical of things, right? is there's a difference between being like passionately upset that something's not better and pointing out the reasons why something could be better versus like just shit kicking somebody repeatedly.
Yeah, and I would never
And
shit kick somebody, just corporations, and they're not people in most countries.
except the United States, which, as we've already discussed, is a bit of a hellfire.
They're doing their best, and it's not very good.
I don't even know that we're doing our best, but we're doing something.
We're present.
We're definitely here. All right. Let's talk about the event that Innis won first. We can talk about Celtic Cup, which is Scotland's first major, and then we'll switch over Super Major. Sorry. I don't want to get any Scottish people being upset in my DMs, all two of them and their collected herds of sheep.
Yeah, that's true. They'll be super mad at you, though.
They will. There'll be a lot of bleeding.
Yeah.
All right. What do we want to say about Celtic Cup? It was a really well-run event. People need to have fun.
Yeah. I can't believe they made Dick carry out a large case of Earn Brew. That was just fucking ridiculous.
I did see those pictures.
A whole case of terrible soda.
I tried it and I was like, I don't really know what this is. Is this bad? Is this good? Is it?
It's not good.
It's not.
I could say with great confidence that it's not. If they couldn't get me to admit that it was good when the only thing I had had in Scotland before I had that was dragon soup, it was not good.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I had a can of dragon soup before I tried it, and I was like, just anything else, just some form of nourishment. It's been 24 full hours before I had something else, and that was what they gave me, and it was still bad. Unreal.
And it's funny because I actually didn't find either of them like particularly bad, but dragon soup is definitely something you drink and you're like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah,
it's not choices I'm making.
It's not good for you. I mean, it's just pre-nerf for Loco, bro. It's bad for you.
It's just energy drink plus alcohol, and it's even the United States banned that, guys. And like even the U.S. banned that.
Not even guns. Dragon soup, dangerous. So keep that in mind.
We're just gonna do Clown Mode's question while we're just talking bullshit.
Sure.
Thank you, Clown Mode, for the $4.99 super chat. Yes, hello, Pickles. They should release 30 new detachments 2 weeks before WTC's list deadline.
I agree. That would be awesome. Mostly because that's after the rules deadline. So go ahead. Can't hurt me if you don't know the rules.
It's way better to have somebody. You're gonna have to pay another $5 and do another. But if you want to hurt Anthony's feelings, also apparently the Earn Brew slander is what's actually bringing the Scottish into our chat.
Good, get in here and talk shit. Tell me I'm wrong. Engage with the media. I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
Did we end up bullying Dave until he changed it to Accolons could only use the free?
He just let them fly.
Man, we apparently didn't bully the man enough.
I mean, I actually had a pretty vested interest in Guard just getting to do whatever they wanted in that event. It didn't stop Innis anyway, so it didn't matter.
True. They took like 1 point off of Innis or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Innis won the first Super Major in Scotland. We are very happy for him.
There was lots of good players there.
Talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There also were lots of good players there. In part because a bunch of Europeans and people from the UK decided not to go to WCW.
Is it time to talk about that?
Yes. So this is where we're gonna be passionately constructive, Anthony.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I was planning to be so nice to the most well-run international. I can't get through this sentence seriously. Holy moly, what a mess.
Let's talk about, so like GW does generally run events that run smoothly, right?
They run excellent events to hang out with folks.
Yeah. Which in some ways appears to be their intent with like their open events. They talk a lot about the experience of playing Warhammer 40k with other people and kind of like what the game is supposed to look like based off what they think 40k is best like characterized as being.
Yep.
Every event has problems. We're going to talk about some of the problems we had with the event.
I mean,
and
there was some good stuff. Like, there was 2 Americans in the final. That was cool. They did their best to pair them into each other on cooldown, but We
I
fucking
will
took it
say
home
that-
anyway.
I will say that I generally kind of liked the fact that people from their own country did not tend to get paired into each other. Mostly because, like, that's kind of a cool thing to do. People
Yeah.
can pair into people they never play, really, or people they
That
play
stuff's
very
super
rarely
great.
or sparingly. That stuff's
Yeah.
all great. The fact that they created a sort of invitational, bringing people from all over the world in order to play here.
They didn't really bring them here. They kind of had to bring themselves here,
That's
which is
true.
a separate problem. But yes, the theory of lots of people from many places getting to go there, pretty cool. Like
Also
that.
rad.
Yeah.
Let's start with the commentary though first, because I think that's the place that's kind of easiest to start with. And we talked about it like a little bit at the opening part of this episode where we were talking about some changes that we'd like to make, a little jokingly, but also a little seriously.
So, look, I think the commentary team is set up to fail. I think that they are given a limited amount of information and without access to player mics. Again, I could understand as Games Workshop, you know, a company with a $1 billion market cap or whatever the fuck they're worth in capitalism points, they don't want to just have players saying shit into the world on their platform. Totally fair. Right? But if you put a microphone on the player and through the power of the technology gods, make it so that the stream can't hear those words and the commentators can hear those words, we probably don't run into situations where we think Logan Grimnard died in Deep Strike on turn 2. You know? So, I think that maybe if we get a combination of player mics into the commentary team, and we aim that commentary at the fact that it is a world championship, we are watching the highest levels of play, we maybe spend a little more time focusing on what's going on in the game of Warhammer 40,000 in front of us that are perhaps not the game of Age of Sigmar happening over there, or misunderstanding what was going on. I think that in general, some clarity would go a long way. As an example for this, you could just look at the Spanish stream, which was sick. And again, if you don't want to hear the player mics, just don't. But being able to hear them for the final was really dope. That shit was pretty cool. Now, granted, when I watched the Spanish stream, I didn't know what Bubble Fart 69 was working on hobby-wise, and that was a tragedy. But I did have a clear picture of what was happening in the World Championship Finals in front of me, which was pretty cool. So maybe that would be a way to improve, you know?
Some dedicated stream tables. There are plenty of well-known streamers that they could tap in to do something like this. Adam is very good at commentary. Adam Camilleri gets brought over to all sorts of stuff. Adam does commentary for the WTC. Adam does commentary for all sorts of folks and is very good at it. I think Australia's tabletop wargaming network probably. I think somebody mentioned that they could just do a delay. Yeah, you just do like a 30-second delay or something like that, like they do on some live television broadcasts.
Yeah.
And you can cut language out if you need to. Like,
You totally
nobody
could.
cares that a Warhammer 40k game is 100% live and on time. They
No.
just want to know what's going on, and they want to know how it's going on. And
Yeah.
player mics help everybody kind of understand kind of the conversation. Also, it actually helps with creating the impression that they want most, which is that the people who are playing 40k are having fun playing with each other and are talking with each other, and it sets up people for like a culture of competition. Our chat is going off, and that's
They
funny.
really liked the Bubble Fart 69 thing. I'm just getting a little distracted.
I know. And like, it's something that should be relatively straightforward and easy to set up, like we talked about. And it's something that just creates added value for somebody streaming an event.
And look,
right?
I understand where they're coming from. You want to like get people engaged. And I think that maybe you do that with something that isn't ostensibly your finals, like your world championships, right? This is like the players at the highest level, assuming they were able to pay their own way. It's the players at the highest level that were able to afford to go to Atlanta, like, which is like a bit of an asterisk, but you know, or gave a shit enough to go to the event or whatever. But ostensibly, this is as close as we get in a singles format to all the good players in the world being able to go to one place and play each other, right? In the year, generally. Outside of like LGT at the top.
War Masters, maybe.
War Masters is tough because a lot of the teams players can't play in it from certain teams. Like,
That's
obviously,
fair. That's true.
France fucking smashed it anyway because they're all chads with infinite energy, apparently. But, you know, for us frail Americans on the lag shift in time, it doesn't work. So, like, you know, WCW does a good job of that. And if you're not going to WCC, it's a great time to see everybody. Now, my personal gripe with the event, and part of why I did not go, starts with something as simple as the beginning. So, for those of you who did not go, you'll know that you did not know what the fucking missions were until the day of the event. And you may be surprised to know that the people that went to play also did not know what the fucking missions were or the terrain layouts until they also were at the event. And that is crazy. I think this is based in, and Nathan, you do more work with the GW event staff, so maybe you have a more enlightened opinion. But I think this might be based in a broader problem that we have in the community in general that might be bleeding into some of the tournament organizing, which is this broad stroke idea that being able to prep for an event is a bad thing. And that is fucking crazy. If I showed up to a fight and they were like, by the way, today's paintball day, I would be deeply confused about my MMA experience. So,
Anthony, you're secretly fighting the super heavyweight champion of the world. Congratulations.
Yeah. By the way, today, 14-year-old Anthony, it's John Jones in there. Good luck, soldier. Oh, okay. John Jones is the type of dude that would fight a 14-year-old. Fuck that guy. Anyway, if you know John Jones, that'll be funny to you. And if you don't, sorry about that weird segment. For real. So I think that is a thing that the community could, in general, do with getting away from. I think that I've seen so many people be like, dude, if I just knew that day one was layout 7 on ritual and something else, I'd have just played something else. And like the idea that you have to find that out beforehand after you've like booked, gone, and are now there at this expensive ass event is crazy.
Yeah,
and it's
I will say that if you are spending like multiple thousands of dollars to go to an event, which is in its own like a problem that needs to be addressed, that was better last year.
Sure.
Like the first year of the event, with prize support requirements being like you need to support your player with golden tickets going to the WCW. Different story, different day. But if you're going to have people spending, or even stores spending money to sponsor somebody to go, like money is money, no matter who it comes from, ostensibly. Like they should at least be the best prepared to give the best competitive showing that they can give. And keeping the missions random only really just punishes people who are spending lots of money to go.
Yeah, it's crazy. It again, for like, if you want to keep this energy for like your open events where it's like, you know, more of a community gathering and it just so happens that there's someone who happens to be undefeated at the end of this, we can pretend that that's how people engage with the opens. That's fine. Like, that's okay, you know? But like the idea that you would just be like, I'm gonna pick my army for the world, again, call it something else. The world gathering, the world community meetup, the world whatever you want, the world hold hands and sing event, you know? But the world like championship tournament, the idea that you would do things that take away from it as a competitive endeavor is just like, why are we doing this? You could just let people be prepared for the thing that is very important to them. And that kind of feeds into the thing that I was saying before, where people go to these events and ostensibly are just, you know, there to have fun and roll dice, but like, you know, get kind of upset when they end up 3-2. And those are just not really congruent, you know, ideas. Maybe just it's okay with being someone that's trying hard to do well at a thing you're spending a bunch of time on. And just accept that.
Yeah, and it definitely, like he says, harkens back to kind of some cultural norms of like older 40K where you'd like walk up to an RTT and roll up missions or something like that for that day. Or you'd like at an RTT where it's just one day and your buy-in is $25 nobody cares if the first mission is layout 7 and the ritual, because they're spending a day and $25 as an entry fee and maybe
Right.
like 6 hours of like an hour of driving.
Yeah.
Like, those are different levels of investment that come from like a different kind of cultural attitude towards Warhammer 40K, and there's no reason to keep the players in the dark. You could definitely say like maybe people won't be as interested, or like list design would be like different, and that's also true. Like,
but that's not. Hold on,
I think
slow down. That's not even true. These events, again, if the event does what it's supposed to do, which is pull in all the really high level players and all the like, that's the crackdown, right? We're assuming equal skill across the brackets, which, you know, in all competitive endeavors, that's not true, but that's the platonic ideal we're going for here, right? Like, if that's true, then they should all have equal access to prep, which means that they should all have equal access to play good armies for those given things. And the missions in 40K are not so skewed that no army is capable of taking a combined arms army that can do better in these environments, right? You know, to fast forward this conversation a little bit, and we'll get back to some of the other stuff in a minute, but like the finals was a very clear indicator of like, if you know the finals is going to be a layout 1 mission and you have the opportunity or the capability of playing against like a melee heavy staging based army on layout 1, you probably take some countercharge in your fucking guard army and don't play 3 tanks. You know, like 3 by X tank times as many times as that works, right? You'd make different choices if you were allowed to be prepared.
Sure.
But they weren't, so we got what we got instead. So, yeah. And I say this as someone that would have only benefited from this as an attendee, right? I would have probably, if it's a large event, I'm almost certainly playing World Eaters, right? If I'd have gone in day 1 and been like, layout 7, fucking cha-ching, bitch. Like, that is free points, you know? But that's unfair to the people that brought gun-based armies, which is not, you know, despite all of the jokes that I make on here, is also a portion of the player base that I do care about competitively speaking.
Yeah. It's just like a parity thing. You just want people to start at that same point and to be able to do like their best at an event. And it's harder to do your best at an event if you don't know what you're preparing for at an event.
If you're just guessing.
Mm-hmm. So we can talk about clocks, which was kind of taking a step forward and then like bobbling the landing a little bit, which is that if you're going to use... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I could do it or whatever. Either is fine.
No, I was just going to say, so like they did allow people to use clocks, which is something that the Opens have traditionally not really allowed you to do, and they've done a different kind of time management on the side. They kind of enforced clocks in a strange manner for like enforcing time limits on rounds and stuff like that, where they would kind of just pop over and pop down a clock and then tell you how much time you had a little bit in without considering kind of like the ramifications in game state.
The Rammies, bro. Everyone always forgets the Rammies.
So definitely like a step forward and then like a slight step to the side a bit. Like,
right.
Instead of taking 2 steps forward, we took 1 step forward and then kind of like stared at how great we did and then do the rest of the second step forward, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like
this close.
We're so close. So close to being perfect on a clock policy.
So they used them on stream. Like they got taken out and used publicly. These are all massive steps forward for Games Workshop, and I want to applaud them for taking them when they were fairly stubborn about this in the past. So I do not want any of what I'm saying now, to be taken as only criticism. I am not mad. They did make a small mistake in how they executed on them, which is something that can happen when we are, again, trying to be like, nah, bro, it's cool. I don't really care how this game ends. You run into issues like this. So if we get into the end of a game and we run into a scenario where we each are about to receive an hour of time, right? That's the GW mandate, as I understand it, is that when there's 2 hours in the round left, you're going to get a clock. Bam! And you're each going to get an hour. Now, the problem with that is that if that happens, on the bottom of the turn, one of you got to play 3 turns of Warhammer, and one of you got to play 2 turns of Warhammer and look at your opponent while they played their 3rd turn of Warhammer and then got a clock with the same amount of time on it. And that is probably not how you should do that. because that can lead to an assortment of field bads, which at that point you've made the player's problem to kind of go with, because they can either, follow the clock that you've put down for them now, or ignore it, in which case, why was it there at all? So, if we just fix that one little snag and use it from the beginning, we're cruising. And if it doesn't matter, I've never had the clock not matter in a game and then been like, damn, I wish I didn't use that. You know what I mean? I've only ever had it matter and then had it not be there and been like, well,
I wish I'd had a clock this game.
Yeah, I've never finished the game with an hour left on each of our clock and been like, nuggets, what a waste of time we did moving our wrist 4 inches and tapping a button. What a fucking, my wrist, I'm going down. That's never happened to me once. Perhaps, different people, different problems. But for me, so far, so good. And I think that's just like a thing they could do. And I think that would be pretty low,
yeah, I don't think anything
cost
that we're talking about is like wild things that we're talking about from like an idea of how to improve. Like these are
this is all low.
Like these are overall like pretty small complaints.
Low bars.
Like important, but like it's not like the entire event was played on styrofoam terrain with like no tables for some people and they were playing on the floor. And stuff like that.
Yeah, there was like, nothing crazy happened, right? Like there was, there was some like suboptimal stuff from the event. Again, if it's going to be the competitive pinnacle, right? And if you don't view it as that, totally fine, right? If you don't do it that way, no big deal. Not a big 100%. Deal.
I think people always confuse passion with like being like hateful, and that is not what is meant to come across. It's like both Anthony and I care about like
I'm not hating at all.
If you're going to run something like this and you want it to be the competitive pinnacle, we also want it to be the competitive pinnacle of Warhammer 40K.
Just like, again, a lot of this comes back to the same thing, which is being okay with it being competitive. It's fine that it's competitive. Also, separate side note, an unnamed commentator probably shouldn't be saying things on stream like, if you forget something in the wrong phase, that's it, you're stuck. That is not how Warhammer is played at the highest levels and should not be encouraged. Thankfully, the players kind of fixed that themselves, but whoa, that is not something that should get out.
No, like it undercuts kind of this idea that Warhammer 40K, because it's kind of like starting to lean into a playing by intent, where it's like, obviously, you meant to do something different, and you would never have done that if you just had this one piece of information.
Yeah.
And like the biggest thing about it too is like one of the things I like to tell people about like Warhammer 40K is like similar to chess, you are both supposed to be acting essentially at 100% information. You should know everything.
Yep.
Like the rules are in an app. Nobody has secret rules. There's no secret tech to what's going. There's secret tech, but there's no secret rules.
There's not even really secret.
Not even really secret tech.
Yeah, like most of the time in a game, you should have a pretty good idea what's going on. Perhaps not your opponent's exact game plan. If it's like they're relying on like you to move in certain ways and do certain things to have it shot in the matchup, right? But like what's going on.
Yeah. So there's no reason for gotchas to exist. So we should play by intent because obviously we should all have 100% information access at the time that we're doing stuff. That doesn't mean people don't make mistakes. And if you tell somebody like, hey, I have a 3-inch deep strike, and then they don't screen for a 3-inch deep strike like 5 seconds later, you have told them what you can do.
Tried.
And you tried to communicate it. Like,
look, I get this a lot.
There's a difference. Yeah, go for it.
I get this a lot as world leaders all the time. People are like, do they just not screen? And I'm like, honest to God, in a 5-round event, for 3 of those rounds, maybe 2 of those rounds, depends on the event, I'll be like, hey, if you don't stay out of this area, you're going to die. And my opponent will look me in the eyes and be like, nah, it's going to be fine. It's never fine. It's never been fine once. No one's ever made it out of the other side of it's going to be fine. But
now and then, though, Invocatus gets charged by anger on turn 1. And makes 7 out of 8 saves and doesn't die.
Maybe he makes it.
I have definitely put Avocado in bad positions at least once.
Yeah.
But like you make mistakes. Like this is illustrative of that. Of I know that this could happen, and Anthony has told me, and I have said bad.
Dude, I tried to stop you. Nathan is my go-to example for this story usually, where I'm like, listen, it doesn't have to be this way. There doesn't have to be pain in your future. And he was like, fuck you, I want to hurt, and died. And I was, I tried.
Anthony tried very hard. He tried so hard to convince me not to do what I was doing. And I was like, but Anthony...
Dude,
I should do this thing.
I tried so much harder than I would have with a normal person, too. I'd have stopped after, like, the second, like, nah, Anthony, I'm doing this with, like, anyone else. Anyone that I was not homies with, I'd have been like, all right, I guess. But I really was like, Nathan, please, anywhere else on the whole board but there.
Please don't just use like 300 points to kill
my
30
cultists.
Points of cultists.
Didn't even get all of them. You had to shoot them with the fucking pod itself.
It's true. I did not. It's like we operate at this level. We should all play our opponent at their best. And sometimes that just means telling them like,
hey man, that's not going to end the way you think it is.
Hey, Angron can move like 24 inches. You better watch out.
Yeah. I try and even give grace for, like, I know a lot of people have different, like, thresholds for where they're okay with a take back, but basically anytime an opponent makes a decision that is based on information that is just, like, entirely fake, I try and just be like, yo, just back it up. I don't care if you, like, rolled the activation or whatever. Just, like, don't fucking do that shit. If you shot at me thinking I had a 4-up save and I had a 2-up for whatever reason, not that that's really common, but, like, I start saving on 2s and you're like, what's happening? Don't do that. Just shoot at somebody else. No biggie. It's fine. We'll figure it out. I feel like people don't do the, like, we can just figure it out thing enough. Where it's just like, oh, you activated there. Yeah, some dice got rolled. Fucking whatever. Shoot over there. You wouldn't have done that if you had all the info. Now, I try and establish that info when they tell me they're going to do the crazy thing, right? If you're like, I'm going to shoot a bunch of bolters at your Land Raider and not your scouts, I'm going to be like, maybe. Sure. You might do some damage, but have you considered shooting at the thing you don't wound on 6s that has a 4-up save? Nah? Not that I play a Land Raider super often, but, you know, when I do.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, like, people just need to be nicer to each other. It's really the truth of it. The don't be a dick rule just needs to be followed a little bit more when we're playing.
Yeah, and people are probably good about it.
Soldiers with each other. And, like, generally speaking, I'm not quite as forgiving as Anthony is once the dice are rolled. But actually, now that I've thought about it, I'm like, if you rolled hits, those hits are generally those hits are generically transferable to the unit next to it.
Yeah.
Like, if you hit on 3s into the Land Raider and you hit on 3s into the scouts who are standing right next to the Land Raider.
Yeah, look, if you told me you were shooting at the scouts and I have a 1 wound Land Raider and you rolled 19 6s to wound, sorry, homie, those bullets are still going into the scouts because that is crazy. But, like, you know, context is important in a war game. Mm-hmm. And that is a thing that commentary has a hard time with because they don't fucking player mics. Boom, brought it home.
Wrapped it all the way back.
Trump's weave ain't got shit on me, bitch. All right. That's enough U.S. political jokes for today.
We're not done.
I'm not. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to pretend, though. You know, it feels better if I'm like, that's the last one.
Concepts of joke. Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about from WCW before we switch over to talking about?
No. Congratulations to Folger Piles. Good job taking home the win. I feel like that's a thing that's probably worth talking about is the fact that this has been like the sole form of content that I've seen that for months has been like, Custodes is good. It's just fucking boring. I feel like that's been like a pretty stat check exclusive. There's been a lot of like C and D tier Custodes going on from places. And I feel like for a really long time, we've been like, hey, they're good. It's just not exciting. So a lot of good players aren't playing them. And then we get like back-to-back weeks of a good player playing them who immediately wins 2 events. So I feel like maybe we get to, you know, flex a little bit on that one, that they are good. They're just a little fucking boring. And sometimes you just like kind of push models forward and then your opponent's like, I'm gonna shoot him. And then you're like, all right, but no. And then you win the game. And that's pretty sick.
I will say that, like, congratulations to Folger because that was not one of the people who I predicted to take the whole thing, but a person who was predicted to take their group, and they did really well. So, like, congratulations to them. And maybe Lennon is just going to be our perennial bridesmaid, never a bride at this point.
I can't make that joke. John actually gets really sad about that. I don't want to make that
Oh,
joke.
okay. I won't
John,
make that. Well, I can make that joke. That John
Yeah,
can slide into my DMs and tell me that it's
yeah.
bad.
John, much love to John. My heart breaks for him that he, got the second place twice. I was really hopeful for him that he was going to get it, but not quite.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, buddy. One of the kindest compliments I've ever seen Innes give, which is incredible because he gives them sparingly, is that he said that Lennon would never lose a game of Warhammer if it was played 2 out of 3. If it was best of 3, he'd never lose another game, and that is very accurate. I've beaten John in all the matchups I've beaten him in the first time he's played them. After that, you don't get to win those anymore.
Yeah, I like John Lennon was one of my favorites. I was hoping that Olivier would win just to prove some kind of French dominance thing.
Oh, that would have been cool, but no way.
Lennon's an amazing person and should also do well at these events. That's all I will say on that topic. All right. So we talked about that. The plugs are just going to be general plugs. I think you all are kind of used to them at this point. There are some links in the things to our sponsors. There's Red Dragon. There's Saltier Games. There is Terrain. There is all sorts of stuff in there. And you should go click all those links and go check it out and buy stuff from them. And if you join our Patreon, you get a special discount code to Red Dragon. So you should do that too.
Woo!
And if you join our Patreon, you can join our lovely Discord community where we run events, which are prize supported. And you can chat with all sorts of folks, including like Vic. Vic's in our Discord.
That's
Sometimes
true.
John Lennon's also in our Discord.
That's
so you can
also
talk
true.
to all sorts
Jack
of folks.
Harpster, there's lots of people in there.
Yep.
Sometimes you get to do really cool things, like playing a Champs Cup team out of nowhere when you're in our Discord. There's a lot of random calls for people that need help for team events in there.
And honestly, the community is one of the best communities that I am in online. Probably actually the best community that I'm in online, because it is incredibly supportive of all the people who are in it. So if you have a thing that you're interested in, you'll probably find more people who are interested in that thing, even if it's not 40K. Yeah. Otherwise, also check out coaching if you're looking at coaching, which is at stat-check.com/coaching. We have a bunch of coaches now of all sorts of kinds, including Liam and Nassim.
Woo-hoo.
If you are looking for more Eurocentric coaching options, you can also get Innes, of course. And there are also, I can't remember if Pumbaa is doing coaching. I don't think Typhus is currently doing coaching. That's kind of the list. Go look at all the pictures. I think we've actually updated most of them so that now everybody's kind of up there. All right, now we're going to slide into questions. The way to ask questions is either you super chat, you ask it in chat, it's super interesting, or you join our Patreon, spend $5 a month, and you can ask questions in our Patreon question thread. And then we will most definitely answer your question, provided it isn't something specifically for Innes and or Jeremy, because those people aren't here, and we'll probably save those questions for next week when they are actually present instead.
Yeah. Brian, I would wager that Lennon's Aquilons did not actually punt you into the sun. They might have made it hard to move or fucked up your scoring ability, but a lot of what punts your models into the sun is those fucking tanks, dog.
Truth. Yeah, it is definitely the Demolisher cannons that are punting you into the sun if there are Demolisher cannons in that list.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Okay. From Sean, do you think...
You got to read it out loud.
Do you think part of... Yeah, I was just like reading the question to myself briefly while I tried to figure out where the question was. Do you think part of the failure of GW to provide adequate number of mission decks has to do with rules, materials, sales traditionally only capturing a portion of actual players? I feel like there's a sizable quantity of players who would buy mission decks but have spent no money on other rules. Obviously, they have had other production issues, but this could explain coming up short with pre-production targets.
I could not run a $1 billion business, though the more I hear billionaires speak, I'm convinced that that might not be true. But I am definitely not qualified to guess why they're fucking this up. It does seem like, as a whole, they do make money on accident based on their own quality control standards and how things go at just like my day jobs. So, I don't know. Maybe. Fucking who knows, bro?
I will say there's still like a global supply chain problem from COVID still, and it will take probably even longer for that to like fully get rectified.
Damn,
and so you'll probably still see stuff like that happening even into like the next decade. All right. Innes, that's just Innes saying he got his wisdom teeth and therefore his power removed.
Fairness.
Ben F asks, "What's the most lopsided counter for custodies and teams?"
Fuck. I imagine Thousand Suns is just like great suffering. I don't know what else kills Custodes. I mean, like Custodes is pretty good at like getting a fucking 7. You know what I mean? GK is probably pretty fucked up, like staying at distance and just like punching him in the nose.
Early access player packs.
Yeah, early access player packs is probably pretty OP into Custodes. That's probably true. Yeah, I could see Vanguard, being kind of cursed, like the Marine one, not the Nids one.
Yep.
DG ain't shit into Custodes because DG ain't shit into anybody. Oh yeah, Mr. Nemo the Fish, probably pretty rough day in the office for the Custodians. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got off the top of my head. I mean, I could see other stuff being challenging, but it's like, oh, they don't have AOC. Outlander Claw probably fucks them silly.
Yeah, I was going to say Gene Stealer Colt being able to be present everywhere on the table at once is just probably not great for him.
Yeah, that's probably not awesome. I don't know. That's like pretty much it off the top of my head. I can see CSM doing well into them just because they have multi-phase damage and like indirect and shit, but...
Yeah. Phase 1 damage is harder, so if you have a 1-phase damage army, then it's like a little bit more challenging if somebody pops like Warden Feel No Pain on you.
Yeah, you got to be really willing to like grit your teeth and brawl if that's what's happening, and I think World Eaters might be able to do it, but I would probably mark that as not terribly favored, and he asked for very good counters, which is not any of those.
Yep. All right, Tom H has the next question, which is, did everyone overrate Ret Cadra, or was WCW a poor meta for it?
No, WCW opened with 2 rich layout 7 missions, which, I think Ret Cadra is pretty good, but like I think it's probably a little overrated. The truth of the matter probably lies somewhere between like all of the hype pre-event and the Polish contingent saying that it's dog shit, garbage, useless. So it's probably somewhere in between those 2 points. I played against it at Cali Cup. It was really cool. It did only score like 30 points though, but that like totally could have changed. That game was close until it wasn't.
If you had to surprise your okay, what would you pick with a blind mission pack as far as factions go?
I mean, I'd be deep on that combined arms flow. Though that is assuming I have perfectly equal prep, which would not be true, so I would just take World Eaters and pray. But I think if I was like planning to go to WCW and I had been planning to go to WCW, I probably would have started playing CSM much earlier in the cycle and just like jammed that a bunch and gotten ready using that and, kind of rode that train.
I would have probably taken Tyranids personally, but that's because of a comfort thing more than anything else.
Like I said, a lot of it comes down to that. Tyranids were tricky for the event. John and I, so I didn't do a lot of John's prep with him, but like we talked about it a ton. And there was a big risk with Tyranids of catching the Bringers of Flame matchup at the wrong time and things going like wildly south, wildly fast. Tyranids, piloted by John, are very good into guard. I don't know that bears out across the aggregate, but again, Tyranids, when John has played them in the past, has been very good into guard. So it probably would have worked out great. And ironically, they have a good Custodes matchup, though that wasn't really on the radar when that choice was being made. So yeah, that was Tyranids are like just generically very good right now. Both the Vanguard build and the Invasion Fleet build and the Nexus build and the fucking Crusher build all are good.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Sam Pope's list from the event, and Sam Pope is an amazing player.
Yeah, Sam Pope did great.
But they're...
I've talked to him a bunch more lately. He's fucking awesome, by the way.
I've never met him, I don't think.
He's lovely. So. Really great. You would like him a lot.
Oh, damn. Well, yeah. Sam Pope, I'll meet you at some point at some event in the future.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is from Willow. A couple friends who went to WCW were uncomfortable with how judges and some players treated playing the game to the point of not allowing them to concede and treating every interaction with exhaustive detail because of the concept of country points. Can we stop attaching national identity to Warhammer outside of WTC now? It seems to create unpleasant stakes at the singles level.
All right. Crack knuckles, loosen up a little bit. All right, so the country point system is fucking stupid and a complete waste of time. No one understands how it works. No one fucking follows it. No one gives a shit. It is the dumbest thing that they do at the event. The event is like 70% fucking Americans and Canadians. What are we even talking about right now? Who gives a fuck about this? Did America win this? Who fucking won? Who even won the thing? Do you know?
No.
No one fucking knows. That's why. It doesn't matter. No one cares. It's the worst part of the event. The idea that this in any way, shape, or form influenced anyone at all playing in this event's experience of this event is garbage. If that happened, if someone was like, I'm just trying to concede, man, I don't know, I've had enough of this game, I'm dead, I'm out, and they weren't able to, is ridiculous. I cannot imagine being on the other side of that table and not being like, oh yeah, Judge, we're totally going to finish this out. Please go get a cup of coffee and enjoy the rest of the day for your really hard work while my opponent and I finish this hard-fought battle in the 41st millennium, and then just, like, let them concede and move on with our day. Like, what the fuck even happened there? That is insane. For a thing, again, I cannot express this enough, that no one gives a fuck about. What are we doing? If you want to care about your country's standing in a 40K event, go watch the fucking WTC. Go watch the World Team Championship. Watching the World Singles Championship, where Bobby McKillteam and Johnny McUnderworlds control the fate of the nations, is like, you know, probably really cool for someone. I don't know who that target audience is, but it's maybe someone somewhere. No one that I fucking know. Yeah. Insane.
I will say that, like, if people are mistreating you regardless of the situation, like, that's just shitty. Nobody should be mistreated when they're at an event ostensibly to have fun. Especially when it's, like, not something that I think they give trophies or anything out for. Like, nobody's getting a trophy or a prize for, like, US winning. And even then, though, it doesn't matter, because your enjoyment of your experience, like, just pull a Cliff. If you're not having fun, go get a massage.
Just leave. Walk
just
out.
Leave.
The fucking, like, skeleton man meme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just leave. It's
okay. I don't understand. Yeah, this makes, like, beyond no sense to me. I cannot fathom a world in which my opponent was like, I want to concede. I'm like, sorry, bro. Need the country points for
you have to
America.
Stay here.
Yeah.
Stay
what?
Here. And you have to stay here and let me punch you some more. Like, even fighting sports let people tap out.
Yeah, bro. You can quit in the UFC.
Like, nobody's like, yeah, no, you have to wait for me to dislocate your arm first. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait until you get some brain damage from lack of oxygen first, bud.
Yeah, I don't even, it's crazy. I don't know this is very third-hand information. Just the idea of it happening has made me very upset. I hope that there is some context missing here, perhaps, and maybe I'm not fully understanding. Okay. But if that is what happened, fuck that noise. Please get rid of this stupid-ass system. Thanks.
Goran asks the next question, which is, what detachments do you wish for your armies in the December detachment gifting?
I have no fucking clue what they're going to do for a World Eaters detachment that isn't punch the bad guys harder and re-roll your blood dice and the Berserker Glaive. I am not in game design. I just take the games and break them, right? I'm just in there being like, oh, you thought this would be a cool, snapping on their toys and stuff, right? You know?
But actually,
but I don't know what they're supposed to do, because I don't design that stuff. My wish list is hopefully they find a way to make something attractive for, like, more Zerker based stuff in Eaters, maybe. And then maybe I would absolutely fucking adore, and you would never see someone run back to a faction faster than I would to CSM if they made something bile focused, right? I fucking loved that shit in 9th, and I would gladly continue to love it now, right? I would also I would love nothing more than for them to just reprint Artisans of Flesh. Just give it to Drukhari. Just pow! Put it back in the game. I think it'd be fine. It would probably be okay at this point. I don't even think it'd be that good. Just fucking reprint that shit and let them have it. And I
would be so excited. So excited.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be dope. And frankly, it would be pretty good. I don't even think it'd be that crazy in the context of 10th. Like, someone would just hand you a bunch of dev wounds and erase you from existence, and you'd be like, but they were -1 dev wounds at least, and you know you weep into your weeping into your resin grotesques as you pick them up off the table and get ready for them to get legends.
Your single pose grotesques, they're all the same guy.
You're 18 of the one dude. Yeah. You know,
I honestly, a Coven detachment is the one that they're missing, like right now from that. That would be amazing. Please do that. A Coven detachment would be great.
I hazard a guess, Nathan. Ready for this? That you could reprint Dark Techno and it would just go over like a wet fart. It would just be like, oh damn, dude, that fucking strength 4 guns +1 to wound. I'm toughness 12. Anyway, and you'd be like, fair enough, man. Fair enough.
I think they could reprint original, like
release like Dark Techno.
Yeah.
And
it wouldn't be crazy.
Dude, you get one flamer per rack now. You get some in the Talos, you know?
Yeah. You can't take the thing that made it super busted, which was 10 racks all with flamers running around to damage 2.
Yeah.
I also would like, I don't know, a new Eldar detachment of some kind, even though the books come out in like February or whatever after Postguard is. I don't know what their release schedule is. I'm just assuming February because that makes sense to my brain. I would like something for them, but that will put them at like 9 detachments if they said 8 in that article. And like 9 detachments in Eldar is wild.
Sure. They'll probably get it all right. None of them will be broken. I'm sure it's going to be fine.
But maybe they'll make it really funny and it'll be like the planes detachment.
Sure.
You can your planes can hold objectives now.
Go nuts, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of factions that are going to have this problem. Like, is Mists of Deimos going to be the AOC of Grey Knights? Because if not, ain't no one playing any detachment but that one. So good luck.
I mean, and to be fair, like even in codexes, like there are plenty of times where the detachments are like fine. Like dude, you're just getting one extra one.
Look, we as competitive players spend a lot of time on this game. We explore a lot of things competitively through the viability. But our boy from earlier, Bubblefart69, also needs detachments to use in his local store and then complain that generic Marines have a low win rate. So someone has to make those detachments for those people. And that's probably going to be a non-zero amount of these detachments. Would it be really cool if they were all perfectly, or not even perfectly, but like purposefully designed for competitive play? Yes. Probably not, though. We'll see. Anyway, next question.
Rickard complaining that Garan stole their question. Do you prefer the no-good square-edged dice or the vastly superior in every way rounded-edged dice?
I
prefer the Lumineth Realm Lords.
Oh! What the fuck? I don't feel bad about that pyropod at all anymore. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't.
Your preferred dice, Anthony?
Not the square edge ones. I really don't like those. They make me upset. Look, I was pretty confident. Like, if you'd have asked me before I started 40K, I'd have confidently said that I was neurotypical. And through my time in 40K and my preferences, specifically with how dice make me feel, I have learned that that is probably not the case. And that's how it goes, Round dice supremacy forever. Specifically, the new stat check dice are pretty good. The last edition of our stat check dice were the shit. And I am sad that I gave so many of them away. So if I gave you one, you better cherish that shit.
I really want actually the black and gold stat check dice. I forgot to grab some before I left, and I need to get some at some point.
Yeah, they're pretty
The stat check dice are the only dice that I play with now, folks.
Yeah.
I love those dice. I just really wanted to upset the internet by saying
no, that's fair. You got me at least. And I'm, in this moment, part of the internet. So
that's all I really live for, is to make Anthony upset with me.
Well, I wish less people felt that way, Like, so many people, like Andrew Gagnon might be the nicest man in 40K, and at WTC he looked at me and was just like, I just like it when you're unhappy. Just like no other context. Just said that out loud right to my face, like it wasn't gonna hurt my feelings.
You're like, wait, this isn't how this is supposed to work.
What the fuck?
You're nice to everyone else. Why have you picked me?
Yeah. I definitely tell people that he's an arms dealer when he definitely doesn't do that for a living, just because, like, you got to have something wrong with you, and Ganya doesn't have anything else, so I invented one. Anyway, moving on.
Not everybody can be Mr. Rogers.
That's
and
what I'm saying.
Nobody DM me saying anything bad about Mr. Rogers. I don't care. Leave it alone.
Yeah, I'm not going to look.
I'm not going to. I will delete you and your comment off the planet.
Yeah.
All right. Grant asks, how egg cook?
I don't know, dude. Probably with heat.
I assume with heat. I like fried eggs with chili crisp to cook them in.
Yeah.
That's a good egg. Ines has a question. Is it a horde meta? If you're GSC, it is, I guess.
Dude, it's a horde meta until people decide to use the Gladiator Reapers, man. Like, just fucking put them back in your list, Marine folk.
It's true. Lucas has a question, which is, any tips for playing into Sky Splinter as Renegade Raiders? My only real shooting is 2 Vindicators and 3x5 rubrics.
I'm not going to front that, like, lagged a bit or something, and I just entirely missed that question. Try again.
Any tips for playing Sky Splinter as Renegade? Playing into Sky Splinter as Renegade Raiders? My only real shooting is 2 Vindicators and 3x5 rubrics. A rubric squad by themselves should pick up a Venom.
I'm actually pretty confident you can split shoot and kill 2 Venoms with just a rubric squad, as long as both Venoms were on objectives that you got rerolls against.
I think the biggest thing for it, and Anthony will correct me, is like you just have to try to uncouple their transports as quickly as possible. That's all you have to do.
I mean, just like the trick against Drukhari is to remember that their army is bad. And I don't mean this despairingly. I mean this earnestly. Their army is just not very good. So if you don't get confused by the trickery and try and avoid a bunch of shit that doesn't matter from happening, if you just like move forward and then remove the bad guys, you will defeat the Drukhari nemesis consistently and capably. Also, your rubrics go in rhinos, and your rhinos have the firing deck keyword, which means that that rhino can do more damage to a Drukhari army than the Drukhari army is prepared to take from dudes in a transport.
It's like firing deck 2, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking rough, son. If you have
probably enough flamers
dude,
to kill most Drukhari things.
Dude, fuck the flamers. You can kill them at yard. A Havoc Launcher, 2 Soul Reaper cannons, and a Combi Bolter is a dead Incubi squad.
You're not wrong, and it makes me kind of depressed deep inside. I just say it that way.
That shit goes right in the nothing box, bro. That goes in.
My nothing box is full from working in academia, Anthony, and living in this hellhole of a country.
Gotta buy the expanded run. You
gotta go to therapy to empty out the bottom of it.
No, you just get nothing box as a service, bro. It's like $20 a month. They expand out your space. It's great.
Damn. Thank you, Tim Pinney, for $2.
With nothing there.
Nothing there. Just my favorite. It's so easy to go to the next question.
Thanks, Tim.
Which is from Bryn. Who will benefit the most from these new detachments? What do you hope for your factions? Well, we'll answer the first part. Who do you think benefits the most from new detachments?
The person that gets the one that they had the least time to look at would be my bet. If any of these are ones that the fluff team was like, it'd be really cool if this army could like advance automatic 12 and shoot 29. Like, if any of those make it through the cracks, we're in trouble.
I think that the biggest beneficiaries will just be whoever doesn't have codexes to just have another detachment that you can play instead of just the detachment that you've been playing from Index. I mean, that's fair. It'd be an improvement on your play experience, but that's about it.
I gotta tell you, I just opened up the Discord and did not realize how not far through these questions we were.
I know, we've got a bunch. It's why, as we were vamping them, I'm like, man, we're going to be here for a while because we cannot control ourselves tonight.
Yeah, that's okay.
The other Dave McLeod asks, do they really need to nerf Accolons if Innis just slams 163 GSC on the table?
You can nerf both. Nerfs are not, they're E for everyone, like these hands. Anybody can catch the nerfs, bro.
Por qué no los dos is really the only answer to that question.
Yeah.
Frank, on last week's episode, Innis and Nathan were discussing the chance for players to win their pods, and at one point mentioned that the numbers can't lie in quotation marks. Did you guys ever consider what happens if you add Kurt Angle to the mix. From my experience, that makes your chance of winning drastically go down. Who is Kurt Angle?
It's a wrestling reference. That whole thing, he just got you to live read a wrestling bit. That was incredible.
God damn it.
Gotcha. Boom. Next.
Fucking Frank. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Pious. Should the community focus more on the winning player over the faction/list?
Yes and no. You should take into context the fact that the player won. You should probably also keep in mind that they did well with a given list, so it's probably got some pretty good shit into it. And then you should evaluate that in the wider context of what their run looked like, and evaluate that in the wider context of the terrain for all of the missions that they played. Or hear me out, just talk to a coach and save yourself hours of work to pull away the wrong message, and they could just give you the right one instead.
Or join a Discord with lots of good players in it.
Yeah, that'll also help. But they're less incentivized to help you outside of just like being bored on a Wednesday.
There's a lot of people bored on a Wednesday, though. Josiah Gattle has the next question, which is, how do you make the go/no-go decision on your push turn when playing an aggressive army?
Playing as an aggressive army is what I'm going to assume this question is phrased as.
Yes, that's my assumption.
And the answer to this, like, honest to God, like 90% of the time falls down to like, if I stay here, am I actually safe? And if the answer is yes, then you could probably afford another turn of like, you know, doing the dance and staging and stuff. But if the answer of like, I stay here is like, he hits me, just instead of hitting me in the middle or in their deployment zone, they hit me where I'm stood right now, probably don't want that. So do the other thing instead.
Makes sense. Murray asks the next question, which is, a confused Death Guard player asks, what is everyone saying that... What? Why is everyone saying that Death Guard is good into guard? Do slow armies counter fast armies?
I genuinely do not understand this at all. I can help you here. Maybe they played against someone who made a whole bunch of mistakes and killed them real good, and that was pretty tight, and then they won, and they were like, oh, Death Guard's really good into guard. And that was it.
Frank asks a second question, which is, what are your pick for best melee builds right now after Biosanctic?
Oh, he didn't get you twice.
No, he didn't. I saw Kurt Angle in the second sentence. I was like, I'm not falling for it twice.
Literally just me staring at the camera like, oh, is he going to get him again?
Here, I'll give it to you for a treat anyways. Like a melee army that has a solid chance to win, even if we add Kurt Angle into the mix.
Boom. I don't know, there's a lot of good melee builds right now. Marines can do really good ones. I mean, the problem is that like almost everything requires you to be combined arms in some way, shape, or form right now to do well, except for world leaders who have other really significant, very glaring problems. So it really depends on what you mean by best. And what you mean by melee.
Clearly the best is just Biosanctic, and we should just
I mean, Biosanctic is very good, but also if you fail those fucking aberrant rolls off the initial thing, you feel a lot less comfortable. However, that doesn't happen, insofar as I'm aware, to basically anyone. So...
yeah, I mean, World Leaders is the obvious second choice. Blood Angels is probably the obvious third as far as, like, true in quotation marks.
I mean, if you're doing that, like, Blood Angels falls off that really fast, because Blood Angels played as, like, actually mono melee is legitimately not very good.
That's true. You need Vindicators or something to crack.
Yeah, you gotta pretend, right? Yep. So, it's tough.
All right. The next question is from JH, which is, Lennon's match versus JWR showed how impactful the Vectora can be. Do you think it needs a little tuning, or it is fine as is?
I think Vex should probably be 9 inches in all instances that it shows up. And I think you could probably do that and then kind of just like let it vibe and see how it goes. I think it's kind of dumb that things can deep strike in and drop you in a Vectora. It's kind of shit.
I actually like that change. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I have elegant ideas that aren't just apply forehead to bad guy.
I mean, I know that, bud. I do. Otherwise, how would you win so many things as world leaders? The thinking man's melee army.
Bonk.
Goran asks, how would you fix Space Marines? Clearly chapters like Salamanders, White Scars, and others need some love, but not Ultramarines.
I mean, I wouldn't. No one asks this question about fucking, you know, the Night Lords thing or the Fellhammer thing or the, you know, you don't get to be better or cooler or buffed because your armor's painted a different color.
I like that Anthony's just so mad that nobody asks this question about CSM. Nobody asks Anthony how he's doing. They're
Yeah,
only ask
yeah,
other people
yeah.
how
That's
they're
right.
doing.
That's right. I mean, it applies for anything though, for real. Like jokes aside for a second. Like no one's like, dude, when are they gonna buff the Beast Snagga detachment in Orcs or whatever? It's always just like salamanders are so bad, and they're actually fine the entire time. Yeah.
Man, now everybody's gonna be doing like wrestling and UFC matchup stuff, jokes in our chat forever.
Good. I hope that happens.
I,
That would be awesome. The crossover of MMA people and 40k people is actually surprisingly high.
I'm not surprised. Isaac asks, "Are world leaders D for Drukari?"
Isaac, I am happy that you started your own show, but because you did that dumb fuck ass shit of putting world eaters in Drukari tier, I'm not gonna say the name of it and give you any free plugs now. God damn, that was stupid. What are you doing?
Bobby, the RPG Luminary, asks, "Hey guys, given the general thoughts around the LVO and WCW events, what singles event currently running would you consider to be the actual World Championship of Warhammer?" I think it's still WCW or maybe LGT. Probably make arguments for each of them.
I think I would probably go with either LGT or War Masters. War Masters has the flaws of like, you lose like the team's players, right? But a lot of those people weren't at fucking WCW anyway. And like, LGT has the flaws of like being in England. But like once you get past those two things, I think they hold up better as like a competitive endeavor, even if the field is not going to be quite as challenging person to person as something like WCW would be.
True. And I would say that whatever ass end of London the LGT is in is probably comparable to Atlanta.
No, actually.
No?
Not even close. Wherever LGT was like mostly fine. Where we stayed for it was a mistake and was quite bad, but that's not the fault of LGT.
Fair. All right. And then their second question is, on a lighter note, what is your favorite Thanksgiving side dish?
Dude, it's the weird cranberry can thing.
You like the cranberry sauce?
Yeah, that shit's pretty good. Like, I don't know why it shouldn't be good. It's like kind of bitter and a bit of a weird texture, but I'm not a texture person, and I like that it's like a little weird.
I'm a big fan of dressing, which is just don't stuff your birds. Don't make stuffing. It's just how you get sick. Folks, stop doing that. Just make dressing, make your stuffing outside of the bird so that you do not, in fact, get food poisoning.
Yeah. But it's funnier when people get food poisoning, to be fair.
Also, there's like wild dressing recipes that you can make. Like somebody sent me one for like dumpling, like gyoza,
Whoa.
Japanese dumpling dressing, which sounded delicious.
Yeah, that's pretty
Somebody
cool.
also sent me the terrible idea of an Italian beef dressing.
Yeah.
Which I was like, they went to a Chicago Italian beef place and bought an Italian beef and like a side of gravy to put in it. And I was like, oh, we're really going.
That's awesome. That person had a stomachache for a week.
They did, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't know much about Chicago. The Italian beef is always one of those sandwiches that looks good, like with your eyeballs. But after consumption, you're like, oh, we've made some errors in our consumption choices today.
It's like a fancier dirty water hot dog in some ways.
Yeah,
it's like the same kind of risk scenario.
It's the
where
same
you're like,
vibe.
I don't know how long that gravy's been sitting there, but
also,
probably long enough.
If you low roll on like a spicy Italian beef, you're gonna have a terrible like week. It's not like you're not gonna have a bad evening. You're like next couple of days is fucked up.
You need to know what you're getting yourself into. Benjer asks the next.
I was going to say that was the cuisine portion, but I was wrong.
It's not. You are invited to the cool people of Warhammer Friendsgiving. You are tasked with making or acquiring a dish to bring to share. What are you bringing?
I'm going to make Dom cook something. I'm going to bring him with me.
You're going to bring Dom and the dish or just the dish?
Both.
Okay. If I'm bringing something and I don't have to make the protein, I will either bake bread or I will make dressing. Because of my grandmother's dressing recipe, and I'll just make that.
Tight.
Eric asks, if everyone is ignorant of the missions, isn't that an even playing field? You literally posted this today while watching our episode? Isn't it then a requirement of the tournament that people build/choose armies capable of functioning on any given mission or terrain?
So if all of the GW missions were perfectly functional as a competitive endeavor, then you might have a point, right? But unfortunately, Warhammer is a game that takes 3 hours to play if you're quick. And last I checked, time still flows linearly. So, we, as humans preparing for an event, only have so much of the fucking resource. So, by telling people that they need to be ready for 20, how many GW editions are there these days?
Too many.
A lot. A significant number, an amount that's going to make you sad if you think about the amount of time it would require to do all of them once on one layout, one time, which is going to be different for all of the layouts. So that is not really a practical solution for something that interfaces with the hobby. I'm not talking about KR. I'm not talking about like at the event. I'm talking about like as prep, right? Like if you do like a quick practice game, you're like zooming through it, playing on a clock, you probably get like 2-3 hour game. That stops working. You can't actually do that much prep. Like it's just not realistic. So you can get better prepared players by giving them the information they need to prepare in advance.
Yeah, there are like 20 missions, I think.
Yeah, too many. And how many layouts are there per mission, right? 5, 4, 3, depends on the mission.
Yeah.
But like, you know, just the idea that you would play every mission on all of its layout one time would take you like a hilarious amount of time. It's just not realistic.
All right. And also, Willow, you are correct that turkey is the third best meat at Thanksgiving at best. Turkey is, in fact, the weakest poultry that you can get and in general.
I need you to highlight the last super chat.
Somebody made Bubble Fart 69, or this already existed and somebody found them and then tagged them in it.
I prefer to think it's that one.
I prefer to think that it's somebody who already existed and watched our show and we just didn't know.
Yes. That would be.
Thank you for the €2. Thank you for the shout out. Love the content. Thank you, Bubble Fart 69. All right. Next, we're almost through the questions, but people keep adding more, so that's just how life goes.
Yep.
All right. Davin asks, is this the start of a Leo DiCaprio arc where Mr. Lennon gets second in WCW for consecutive years?
I genuinely hope it's not. The man deserves nothing more than like the biggest of tournament W's and nothing less. John is like easily, I'm going to say something nice about him in a public sphere, which I usually try to avoid doing because other people do it nice enough. John is like genuinely the best of us on Team USA from like a player and personality perspective. He deserves nothing but victories and does not get them. And it is sad.
All right. Jason K asks, are 4-up invulns too prevalent in 10th? Probably.
Are 4-up invulns too prevalent?
I think 4-up feel no pains definitely are. I think you could.
I mean, 4-up feel no pains should just. 4-up feel no pains were a mistake. Those should just not happen.
You just make them 5-up feel no pains. All the 4-ups should be 5-ups. All the 5-ups should be 6-ups.
Yeah, probably. But I think
all the 6-ups should no longer exist.
I think that all the 4-ups should just be 5-ups, and then you just stop there. Like I don't think things with a 5-up feel no pain are like wildly problematic most of the time, but. I, honest to God, think that not the 4-up invuln so much in this specific example, but like the 4-up feeling pains for Wardens specifically holds back so much of the Custodes design space that a bunch of their other shit has to be boring because of this unit.
That's fair.
But yeah, I think that 4-up invulns are probably around, I don't know, it doesn't feel like they're around more than they were in 9th, and shit dies faster in 10th, so it's kind of like, whatever.
All right. The next two questions. Well, Paul asked the question of, will we get me to watch a video? And I'll watch it after the show. I promise.
Yeah, got him.
And then Rickard and Isaac have questions about Night Lords that I'm choosing to pretend don't exist for Anthony's sanity.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks. I wish the Night Lords detachment was cool. The new Night Lords unit's pretty tight, though.
It has a great war gear ability of just turning off things.
No stratagems.
Cool.
However, I bet you that most people did not read that and realize it prevents you from using offensive strats on them as well.
Oh, that's way funny.
Can't target enemy units. So there are some
All
offensive strats that don't work there, but I'm sure that wasn't the intent, and that'll hopefully be fixed eventually.
Now we are going to do everybody's favorite part of the show, which is where I read the Cult of the High Five thank you messages. So if you want to get thanked at the end of an episode, you join the Crisp High Five tier on Patreon. You get to add your note, whatever that note ends up being, as long as it won't get us canceled, to a spreadsheet, and then I or whoever is present will read them if I am not present. All right, so I'm going to go into the spreadsheet. I opened it. Thank you to Chris. Christopher has officially left Scotland for England. Irvine. Thank you, Willow Weeks. Thank you, Dan F. Thank you, Luke. Dan F. McCarthy. Thank you, David. I am Alfarius. I am Alfarius. We are all Alfarius. We are Alpha Legion. We are all one. Clark. Thank you, bruh. Not gonna NGL, but I'm not Risen RN. No cap. Just full Ohio. SMH. My head. FR. Period. Thank you, James H. Thank you, Colton. Dan F. Miller. Thank you, Fungus. Thank you, John V8 Gang. Why do I think the new Advent detachments will all sound like the end of the 12 days of Christmas? 7 uppy downies, 6 3-inch strikes, 6 3-inch deep strikes, 5 reactive moves. Thank you, Cam F. Dan Morton, Hog Emoji. Thank you, Archon Rahal, Bubble Fart 69 would lose with launch 10th edition Eldar. Discuss. That's rude randomly to Bubble Fart 69. Thank you, Josiah Gattle. Thank you, Tank Commander Frankie. +2 fire on death. Yes, I'm a guard main now. Thank you, Isaac. You know I am something of a Custodes player myself, Tarada. Thank you. This show would be better if every 15 minutes you started talking about Sigmar stats with no warning.
Oh, we should have done that.
Damn
Idiots.
it. Damn it.
Damn it.
Missed opportunity.
Oh, if we just cut to someone else as well, like if we just like pulled off our cameras and put on it.
Straight cut over to an Age of Sigmar like Honest Wargamer stream or something like that.
Oh man, that would have been so funny with like Falcon and the guy that does the Honest Wargamer whose name I can't remember.
Oh, oopsies. I accidentally did team into one. Thank you, Thomas. Incredibly proud of Stefan Stefan Folk and Mitchell at the WCW. Well done, lads, of Equation. I don't know how to pronounce Fokke. If you guys put names in here, you got to put them phonetically so I can pronounce them correctly. Look, I have limits as an American. You can kill Scissorass, but what about second Scissorass? Thank you. Remove 2 up armor saves, and then thank you. The best holiday detachment would also eliminate 2+ saves is, you guessed it, super heavy walkers getting true line of sight at all times.
God damn it.
God damn it. And it's Rob. Thank you, KR Quintero. You're correct. Oh, so we've gotten through everything, Anthony. Do you have any closing thoughts for the masses of 97 people who are watching us right now?
Not really. I mean, like, look, the next month, I wager, is gonna garner some upsetty spaghettis between the game essentially getting tossed on its head, right? We got a new slate. We got a new shitload of detachments. I'm sure not all of them are going to be balanced. The real thing to remember when you think deeply about this and get upset is that you just need to be better and adapt, like everybody told me at the start of the edition. Fuck you. Good night.
You just need to bring more chainswords the month. On that note, everybody, bye-bye.